Living with Caleb was like living next to the sun. He was the golden boy, the straight roommate with the easy laugh and the perfect life. And then there was me, hiding my grief, my father's death, and my love for him behind a door I kept locked every night. I thought I was a master of the "I'm fine" lie. I thought the shadows under my eyes were my little secret. Before I tell you how it all changed, if you've ever had to hide who you really are, you found a home here. We're on a journey to 1,000 subscribers, and we'd love for you to join our family. But I didn't realize he'd been counting every silent tear from the other side of the wall. Tonight, the wall finally came down. I didn't just crack, I shattered. And when the man who thought he was straight walked into my room and held the pieces together, I realized that our lives were never going to be the same again.
The apartment was always too quiet, even when Caleb was home. We'd been roommates for 3 years, ever since sophomore year of college, and in all that time, we had lived in a state of comfortable platonic orbit. Caleb was the golden boy, a former athlete with a laugh that could light up a stadium, and a succession of pretty girlfriends who never seemed to stay long enough to learn where he kept the spare towels. And then there was me, Liam. I was the quiet one, the freelance graphic designer who lived on caffeine and deadlines, hiding my true self behind a wall of "I'm just busy." But lately, the wall was crumbling. My father had passed away 6 months ago, and the grief hadn't come in a wave. It had come in a slow, rising tide that was currently drowning me. I was losing my spark, my sleep, and my appetite. I was a ghost haunting my own kitchen. "You're doing it again," Caleb's voice broke the silence of the Tuesday evening. He was leaning against the doorframe of the kitchen, still in his gym clothes, his broad shoulders nearly touching both sides of the wood. "Doing what?" I asked, staring at a piece of burnt toast I had no intention of eating. "Staring at nothing. You haven't touched your coffee in 20 minutes, Liam. It's cold." "I'm just tired, Cal. Big project." I didn't look at him. I couldn't. Caleb had this way of looking at people, this focused, intense gaze that made you feel like the only person in the room. If I looked at him, he'd see the cracks. He'd see that I wasn't just tired, I was breaking.
"You've been just tired for 3 months," he said, stepping into the kitchen. The air always felt warmer when he was close. "We used to go out. We used to watch the game. Now you're just fading." "I'm fine," I snapped, finally meeting his eyes. His expression wasn't judgmental, it was concerned. "Really, go get ready for your date with Sarah. Don't worry about me." Caleb frowned, his brow furrowing in that way that always made my heart skip a beat I had spent 3 years trying to ignore because Caleb was straight. He was the straightest man I knew. He liked beer, sports, and women who looked like they belonged on a beach. He didn't like broken roommates who spent their nights crying into pillows. "I canceled with Sarah," he said quietly. "Why?" "Because you're not fine, Liam, and I'm not leaving until you eat something that isn't burnt." He moved to the stove, his movements practiced and confident. I watched him, the lump in my throat growing larger. He was being kind, but his kindness felt like a serrated edge against my skin. I didn't want him to be kind. I wanted him to be distant. Distance was safe. Distance meant I didn't have to face the fact that the only person I wanted to hold me was the one person I could never have. I retreated to my room before he could finish cooking. I shut the door and leaned against it, the darkness of the room swallowing me whole. I was tired of the act. I was tired of being the strong one who moved on. I sat on the edge of my bed, the weight of the silence finally becoming too much. And that's when the first sob broke through. I thought I was being quiet. I had my face buried in a pillow, my body shaking with the force of 6 months of repressed grief and 3 years of unrequited love. It was an ugly cry, the kind that leaves your chest aching and your eyes swollen. I was breaking, truly and completely in the dark of my room. Then the door creaked. I didn't look up. I couldn't let him see me like this. "Go away, Caleb," I choked out, my voice thick and unrecognizable. The bed dipped. A heavy weight settled beside me. Caleb didn't say anything at first. He just sat there in the dark, the only sound the ragged hitching of my breath. "Liam," he whispered. It wasn't a question. It was an anchor. "I said go away," I sobbed, pushing myself further into the pillow. I don't need your pity." "It's not pity," he said, and before I could protest, he reached out. His large, warm hands caught my shoulders and pulled me toward him. I tried to resist, but I had no strength left. He pulled me into his lap, his arms wrapping around me like a vice. I froze. My heart was slamming against my ribs so hard I thought it would bruise. This was the moment I had dreamt of and dreaded. Caleb, the straight roommate, was holding me while I fell apart. "Let it out," he murmured, his chin resting on the top of my head. "I've got you. I'm not going anywhere." And so I let it out. I cried into his chest, my tears soaking his t-shirt. I told him about my father. I told him about the crushing weight of the bills, the loneliness of the apartment when he was out on dates, and the fear that I was disappearing. I didn't tell him I loved him, not yet, but I told him everything else. Caleb didn't flinch. He didn't pull away. He just held me, his hand rubbing slow, soothing circles on my back. For the first time in months, the tide stopped rising. "Why didn't you tell me?" he asked after a long time, his voice vibrating through my chest. "Because you have your own life," I whispered, exhausted. "And because I didn't want you to see me like this. Weak." "Weak?" Caleb pulled back just enough to look me in the eye. The moonlight from the window hit his face, and I saw something there I had never seen before. It wasn't just concern. It was an intensity that bordered on hunger. "Liam, you've been carrying the world on your back for 3 years. Watching you struggle, it's been killing me." He reached up, his thumb brushing away a stray tear. His touch was electric. "I thought I knew who I was," he said, his voice dropping to a low, rough register. "I thought I knew what I wanted, but every time I'm out with someone else, I'm just thinking about getting back here, to you." My breath hitched. "Cal, you're straight. You don't mean that." "I thought I was," he whispered, his face inching closer to mine. "A straight man doesn't feel his heart break just because his roommate is crying. A straight man doesn't want to burn the world down just to see you smile." The air between us charged, the straight roommate label evaporating in the heat of the moment. He leaned in, his lips hovering a fraction of an inch from mine. "I saw you break, Liam, and all I wanted to do was be the one to put the pieces back together." The kiss wasn't like the ones in the movies. It wasn't perfect. It was desperate. It tasted like salt and shared secrets. It was the sound of a 3-year-old wall finally collapsing. When we finally pulled apart, Caleb was breathing as hard as I was. "I've been an idiot," he laughed softly, a jagged, nervous sound. 3 years, Liam. How did it take me 3 years to realize that the best part of my day was just sitting on the couch with you? "I thought I was hiding it," I said, my voice finally finding its strength. "I thought I was the only one." "You were never the only one. I just didn't have a name for it until I saw you breaking tonight. I realized then that if I lost you, if you actually faded away, nothing else would matter." The next few weeks were a blur of firsts. The first time we held hands while watching a movie, the first time Caleb told Sarah and everyone else that he wasn't available anymore, the first time we woke up in the same bed, the sun streaming through the windows of an apartment that finally felt like a home instead of a cage. Caleb became my fiercest protector. If I had a bad day, he was there with coffee and a hug that could heal a broken soul. He didn't just notice my struggles anymore, he shared them. We were sitting on the balcony one night, the city lights twinkling below us. Caleb had his arm around me, and for the first time in my life, I wasn't waiting for the other shoe to drop. "You know," I said, leaning my head on his shoulder, "I used to hate this apartment. It felt so empty." Caleb squeezed my shoulder, his lips pressing a kiss to my temple. "It's not empty anymore, Liam, and it never will be again." I looked at him, my roommate, my best friend, and now my everything. He thought he was straight. He thought he had his life figured out. But sometimes you have to see someone else break to realize that you're the one who needs to be whole. "I love you, Cal," I whispered. He smiled, that golden boy smile that finally belonged only to me. "I love you too, Liam. Thanks for breaking. It's the best thing that ever happened to me." Caleb didn't just save me from the darkness that night. He showed me that I didn't have to carry it alone. Sometimes the person you think is the furthest away is actually just waiting for a reason to step closer. We're all a little bit broken, searching for the hands that will help us hold our pieces together. If this story touched your heart, or if you've ever felt like a ghost in your own life, I want you to know that you are seen. We are so close to our 1,000 subscriber milestone here at Gay Stories Chronicles. Every time you hit that subscribe button, you're helping us build a sanctuary for stories that matter. Join our family today, and let's hit that goal together. Before you go, I have a question for you. Have you ever had a moment where someone surprised you by staying when you expected them to leave? Or is there someone in your life who acts as your anchor? Share your heart in the comments. I read every single one.